The solutions of the equation y squared minus 3y equals 9 are which? So clearly this is a factoring problem, but let's take a look at the answer choices before we dive in and just see what's different. Two of the answer choices, 1 and 2, have I in them, so that means it's an imaginary solution. And two of them don't, so these are rational numbers. However, there's also two solutions in each problem, right? Each one is a plus or minus. So that might help us kind of frame the problem. So if we were going to attempt this, first thing we would want to do is get everything on one side equal to 0, right? So we would do y squared minus 3y and then subtract that 9 over to the left side. So minus 9 equals 0. And then in a normal factoring problem, we'd say, okay, what multiplies to negative 9 and adds to negative 3? Multiplies to negative 9 and adds to negative 3. But unfortunately, there isn't anything. Nothing comes to mind. So we have to think of some other method. And typically in this situation, we would go to the quadratic equation. So let's just jot down, I'm going to put the quadratic equation up here. Negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And there's a shortcut you can use. You can take this part of the quadratic equation. It's called the discriminant. You don't have to know that, it won't be on the test, but you'll hear it often. Discriminant. And the discriminant is helpful because it tells you the nature of the solutions to what will ultimately come out of the quadratic equation. So in this case, let's plug in, and remember, the coefficient of the first term is your a, the coefficient of the second term is your b, so b is negative 3, and c is negative 9, so I'm going to write that down. A is 1, b is negative 3, and c is negative 9. And I'm going to plug into the discriminant. So b squared minus 4ac equals negative 3 squared minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is negative 9. So what is that? That's 9 plus 36, which is 45. So b squared minus 4ac is 45. That's what's under this radical up here. So if what's under the radical is a negative number, then what happens is you have to take the square root of a negative, which means the solution that you get will have I in it. It'll be complex. But we don't. We have a number that's non-negative. So we can take the square root of a positive number, and we're not going to get a square root of negative 1, so our answer is not going to have I in it. We can eliminate two of the answer choices right off the bat just by using the discriminant and knowing the nature of the solution. Okay, now that we have that, let's actually write down using the quadratic equation what the roots are. The solutions to this equation, the values of y that make this equation true, are negative b is negative 3, so negative 3 is just 3, plus or minus the square root of 45, because remember 45 is b squared minus 4ac. It doesn't include that square root, so we have to include that now. So the square root of 45 over 2. And now all we have to do is put this in simplest form. What is the square root of 45? Well, we're simplifying radicals. So that equals the square root of 9. That's the biggest perfect square that you can factor out of 45 is 9. So that's what we're going to take out. Times the square root of 5. And then that equals 3. Square root of 9 is 3 times radical 5. So all we have to do is substitute 3 radical 5 in for radical 45, and we should have our final answer. So y equals 3 plus or minus 3 radical 5 all over 2. And that is answer choice 4. And that's it.